Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Shavua Tov Mevorah to everybody. Today, Monday, the ninth day of Sivan, corresponding to the second day of June 2020. Today's class has been graciously sponsored anonymously לעילוי נשמת Moises Mizrahi ben Sara. Yeh ratzon that through the words of Torah, the neshama of Moises Mizrahi ben Sara be elevated in Gan Eden. Amen. There are a few topics that I would like to discuss today, Be'ezat Hashem. And one question that we received very early in the morning today is what to make up of the current situation that we are all witnessing and seeing in front of us. If are the riots in Miami, looting in Fort Lauderdale, New York, Los Angeles, Minnesota, and many other places in the United States, and regretfully also vandalism against synagogues, especially on the West Coast. So definitely things are getting out of control. But I think that is important for us to remind ourselves the eternal lessons of the Pirkei Avot. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot tells us, "Heve mitpalel bishloma shel malchut, shilmale mora'a ish et re'eu haim bela'u." The Mishnah writes, pray for the welfare of the government, that if people will not have the awe and the respect for the government, ish et re'ehu, a person to their friend, haim bela'u, will swallow them alive. I know that this Mishnah may have been written 2,000 years ago, but I think that we see this Mishnah coming alive in front of us. Our city, like many other places nationwide, had a curfew last night from 9 p.m. to 6 p.m. We don't know what's going to be tonight. We hope and pray that things were a bit calmer last night. But one thing is for sure, that when police vehicles are being tortured and destroyed, and looting and vandalism about people's property, it's becoming activated, and even religious institutions, besides the synagogues on the West Coast, a church right across the street from the White House, which according to the expert was the place that many presidents went to pray the day of the inauguration, to pray to the Almighty for guidance to lead this great nation. And I know that some of us may be asking now, what is this rabbi talking about? They burned the churches, etc. I understand how some people feel, but I think that it's important for us to read between the lines. That if people are so much out of control, literally, that a place that according to their beliefs, perhaps this is a holy site, and now they broke down that barrier, it means that humanity, at least in this part of the world, is in trouble. We know that one of the 7 Noahide laws, one of the 7 universal laws that every citizen of the world must fulfill, is the establishment of the judicial system. Besides, do not kill, do not commit adultery, etc., which we all know this, But one of the seven ones is the concept of law and order. Because if that doesn't exist, it becomes anarchy, and that brings whatever disaster is unfolding in front of our eyes. So if there is a time in our life that we need to activate this Mishnah, is this particular time. And we're not discussing what prompted this. Are people happy? Are people unhappy? People have a lot of anxiety, virus, COVID-19, stay at home, unemployment system, benefits crashing, people unable to log in, people not able to follow their and to collect rather the benefits. All that from the news channel we understand. From a human perspective, it's unacceptable. So let us hope and pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to take care of the needs of the nation, to give wisdom to the leaders of each city, because at the end of the day, every leader is responsible for their cities. The same way that rabbis are responsible for their synagogues and school principals are responsible today. From a Torah perspective, we have this system in place. We have a guideline for our life. We have discipline for our life. We have restrictions, like we have permissibilities, but we know where to draw the line. We use the Torah as a GPS for our life. So I hope that the message is clear, and Be'ezat Hashem, let us hope and pray that things will get more calm, and really everybody is able to live the life without the fear of rioting, without the fear of attack, without the fear of innocent lives, God forbid, getting lost because of this situation. And again, we're not even referring at what prompted this kind of reaction, but definitely, the reaction of destroying and causing millions and billions of loss to innocent people, that's also wrong. But I'm sure that the manifestors do have perhaps the way of thinking and what they would like to do. And Be'ezat Hashem will pray for everyone, and we pray for the welfare of the benefit of the nation. We pray for the welfare of the police departments, the first responders, the National Guard that are rolling down the streets in many cities nationwide. So Be'ezat Hashem, we hope that things will only get better and better. Amen. On a different note, the Gemara of today, Masechet Pesachim. Right from the beginning, the Mishnah, if you look in the beginning of the Mishnah of Pesachim, the Mishnah begins, Or le'arba'a asar, potkim et ha'chames le'or haner. The Mishnah, very famous Mishnah. From this Mishnah we learn the laws of Bedikat Hames, the searching for the Hames the night before Pesach. So the Mishnah begins, Or le'arba'a asar. We understand that this means to the night of the 14th. And that is exactly the way we do for the past 2,000 years. Whenever Pesach is, the night before, we take the candle, we take the tray, we put the 10 pieces away of Hames, and we search for the Hames to the candle. It comes actually from this particular Mishnah. Now, the Gemara, right after the conclusion of this Mishnah, asks a very interesting question. And the question of the Gemara is, what is the reason, or what is the meaning, I should say, of the word or. So or, for those who understand Hebrew, we know that or means light. Or means light. So then the Gemara asks, if or means light, most likely means daytime. And if it means daytime, why do I need to use a candle? I can look without the candle during the day. So the Gemara concludes that or actually means night, but the Gemara, or the Mishnah rather, wanted to come out to open up a tractate of the Talmud that has to do with the salvation and the freedom of the Jewish people from the slavery in Egypt with a positive word. And this positive word is called or, light. The Mishnah, technically speaking, could have used the word Lel or Laila, the evening of the 14th of Nisan. But the Mishnah made an exception and wanted to use a word that connotates something beautiful, something uplifting, something meaningful, and something positive. And what proof the Gemara brings down for this Mishnah? The story of Noah. If you remember when Hashem commanded Noah to bring the animals to the teva, God says to Noah, "Mina behema hatehora, o mina behema asher enena tehora," from the animals which are pure and the animals which are not pure. In other words, the pasuk should have used animals that is pure and impure. It's not a big deal to say the word impure, but God says no. If I can say a word that means positive instead of using a word that means something unpleasant, something negative, I'd rather go the extra mile, even though that it means that we need to add extra letters to the Sefer Torah. Because you can use the word tameh, 3 letters, or say asher enena tehora, yani you added at least 8 letters to deliver a message. But fascinating enough, at home, Shavuot, obviously, part of the things that we did in Shavuot, besides being able, Baruch Hashem, to come to the synagogue to pray, but we had to do the tikkun and the learning in the home. So I think Shavuot in the afternoon, being the day of the Yortzeit of David HaMelech and the birthday, I said, you know what, let me read about the actual life of David HaMelech. And I selected several chapters from the book of Shmuel that speak about the life of David HaMelech. And I decided, since we read the Shabbat before the Aventura of Erev Rosh Chodesh, I said to myself, let me read that Aventura that discusses how David HaMelech did not come to the Sa'udah of Rosh Chodesh of Shaul HaMelech. So the Pasuk tells us, Vayeshev HaMelech al Moshavo, the king was sitting, and he was sitting on one side was Abner ben Ner, and then Yehonatan, by Paked Mekom David, and the seat where David HaMelech was supposed to sit to have Se'ud, he figured, he didn't say a word. Ki amar, mikrehu, bilti tahorhu, kilo tahor. Shaul says, maybe he fulfilled the mitzvah last night, and he did not go to the mikveh today in the morning, and therefore he's not pure, so he's not sitting with us. I know that to some of us this may be something new, but there was a time in history that every day that husband and wife were together, the next morning the husbands will go to the mikveh. This is called Tevilat Ezra, established by Ezra HaSofer. But it's also mentioned in the Torah as well, even to the point that there is a mahloket in Masechet Berachot, if a person can learn Torah without going to the mikveh the morning after, in the event that he fulfilled the mitzvah with his wife. The conclusion is that Torah does not receive any tum'ah, but the body of the person must be clean, which I believe everybody cleans their body afterwards. But the Mefarshim say, Ki amar, Shaul says, Mikre vilti tahor hu, ki lo tahor. It says that Shaul said he is not pure. He could have said he is impure. And yet, we can even justify Shaul saying impure, because if we're going to read the next Pesukim, the Pasuk tells us that Shaul became very upset. How could it be that 2 days in a row, David HaMelech does not show up for Sa'udah with the king? So Yonatan says, I send them to his father because they were going to have a Sa'udat Hoda'ah. He asked me permission, and we know the end of that particular Haftarah. But the Mefarshim say, look at the modesty of Shaul HaMelech, that he gave the benefit of the doubt the first day to David HaMelech for not coming to this event, and yet the Pasuk says, Kilo Tahor. He's not pure. He could have said he is impure, but he said he is not pure. It's like somebody asks you how things you can say Baruch Hashem can be better, or you can say the word bad. So our Gemara of today and the Mishnah and the Pasuk from Shmuel teaches us Le'olam al yaseh adam davar megune mipiv. A person must train themselves to always bring out positive things from their mouth. And we discussed this several times. I'm not going to go again and again and again, but we all understand that the more pleasant and positive words a person comes out from their mouth, the overall life will be much better. Shlomo HaMelech writes, Leshon raka tishbor garem. A soft way of talking breaks down the mountain. And even though that refers to talking loud or talking softly, but definitely a person that trains themselves to speak pleasantly and properly most likely will train themselves very easily to speak in a way that is positive, and not to speak in a way when it's negative, even when a person can afford to say something negative, reverses and uses the positive language of life. The Gemara, based on all this explanation that we gave, brings the concept of, besides the Bedikat Hames, talks about an interesting relationship between the candles, the body of the person, and Mashiach survival. let the Gemara do the talking. Tanu Rabbanan, our sages teach us, Lo en botkim et hametz, lo leor ha'lechama, velo leor ha'levana, velo leor ha'avuka. The Mishnah already says, don't check the hametz with a torch, meaning to say like a big flame, single candle, single wick candle, that's the tradition, or a flashlight when necessary. We don't use it with the light of the moon, and we don't search the hametz with the light of the sun. Now, why? מפניהם שהאור הנר יפה לבדיקה, because the candle is good to check. In other words, you get close to the area, you look under the bed, you look by the area, you find the hametz, etc. But where do we learn that the candle, it is something positive and good? So the pasuk says, Ner Hashem nishmat Adam hofes kol hadre baten. Ner Hashem, the candle of God, nishmat Adam, is the soul of the person. So basically, we have a flickering flame into our heart. That's called the neshama, the soul of the person. That can be also called the spark of holiness that a person has. But then the pasuk continues, Hofez kol hadre baten, searches in all of the innards of the body of the person. Meaning to say the neshama affects every single part of the human body. And the Gemara brings another two proofs. For example, in Yosef Sadiq, remember in one of the trips, Yosef said that somebody stole the goblet, or one of the workers says to the brothers, someone stole the goblet from the king, and the pasuk says, by hapez bagadol lehel ubakaton kila. By hapez, again the same language. They look in the bag of the oldest, and they finish by the youngest, by maseh hagavia ve'amtachat binyamin. And the goblet, the kiddush cup, so to speak, of Yosef was found rather in the backpack of Binyamin. Ve'omer, one more pasuk from Yeshaya HaNavi that says, Mehilat Sefaniah HaNavi, Ba'et hahi, at that moment of Mashiach's arrival, Ahapez et Yerushalayim banerot, I will search for the citizens of Jerusalem with the candles. What does it mean? We have the candle, but if the candle is not ignited, if the candle does not come in contact with fire, that candle will never shine. So for that we need to quote perhaps one more pasuk that says, Ner Hashem nishmat Adam, the candle of the Almighty is the soul of the person. But that pasuk doesn't answer me yet. How do I shine it? So perhaps we need to quote something that we said Erev Shavuot. Erev Shavuot, we mentioned about the concept of tradition suggested by the Hidah, by the Moed Kol Hai, and other sources, the suggestion to eat hametz and matzah in Shavuot. Hametz and matzah, hametz represents the Yetzer Hara, the matzah represents the Yetzer Tov. So let's recap together the Mishnah that we started today. Or le'arba'a asar, botkim et hametz le'or haner. So let's understand this Mishnah. I'm going to play with words, and I hope, Be'ezat Hashem, that everybody will understand it. So, or, we mentioned, is the fire of Torah. ner mitzvah, vetorah or. So we find the word or in this Mishnah. We also find ner. Ner means candle. Candle means commandments. Ner mitzvah. The commandments are represented by the candles. Vetorah or, but the fire is the Torah. Beautiful. So now I have in one corner a mega combination. Torah learning and observance of mitzvot. Beautiful. Then, what else do I have? Botkim et hames. I need to search for the hames. Now, which hames I'm talking about at this moment? Not the regular bread hames, because you don't need me to know that once you take a candle is to look for the hames. But you know what can be said about that? That the hames is referring to the Yetzer Hara, which is what the Zohar says. The matzah represents the Yetzer Tov. The matzah is very, very thin. That represents humility, anava of the person, which is one of the most beautiful character traits to have and to develop. Hames, it's inflated, represents the ego, the haughtiness of the person. That is represented by what? By the Yetzer Hara. So maybe a subliminal message that the Mishnah is telling us is, Botkim et hames leor haner, that the best weapon to get rid of the Yetzer Hara is through the fire of the Torah. As we mentioned the other day, Barati Yetzer Hara, Barati Torah, Lo Torah Tablin. I created the Yetzer Hara, the Almighty says, but I also created the antidote for the Yetzer Hara. With that being said, we're going to switch the topic a bit to talk about Yitro. Cain, Mibene Hobab Hoten Moshe. The Zohar quotes a pasuk from the book of the Shofetim, discussing the background of Yitro. Yitro, the Zohar tells us, and the pasuk says it, Heber HaKeni. It says Keni represents the concept of Cain. Is a pasuk actually in Bereshit. brother Hevel, and Moshe was actually the head of Moshe. That Moshe was the reincarnation of Hevel. So now, in this encounter between Moshe and Yitro, is the round two of Cain and Hevel, with one difference: that Moshe has the upper hand, Yitro becomes a follower of Moshe Rabbeinu. Yitro gives his daughter Tzipporah, which we understand correctly, she was the reincarnated soul of that extra sister that Hevel had. And Yitro, aka Cain, repairs the sin of saying there is no judge and there is no judgment after the person leaves the world, by having in the Sefer Torah not only a parasha under his name, not only the 10 commandments, but also having the laws of appointing judges to the Jewish people. What a powerful statement by the Zohar and also by the great Rabbeinu Ha'ari. And the Zohar Kadosh writes, and it says that also we need to understand that the transition of Yitro was not an easy transition. He was an advisor to Paro, together with Bil'am and with Eov. And when they, three of them, were confronted what to do with the Jewish people, Yitro was the only one that defended Am Israel as a token of gratitude to the presence of Yaakov Avinu in Egypt and Yosef HaSadik in Egypt, that literally preserved the wealth of the Egyptian nation. And therefore Yitro was against getting rid of the Jewish people, and he ran away. He had a price tag on his head. He was a fugitive. He was a fugitive of justice, and he settled in the city of Midian. And as we know, Yitro was heavily involved in idolatry. But even someone, God forbid, that is involved in idolatry, yet God gives the person a chance to come back. Even in our days, the Gemara writes, Kol HaShomer Shabbat, a person that observes the Shabbat, Afilu Avad Abodah Zara Kedor Enosh, even if the person was involved in idolatry, like in the time of Enosh, meaning to say the person did idolatry, God forbid, went to churches, bowed down to a priest, bowed down to an animal, bowed down to a statue, the worst things that we can do as Yehudim. And yet the Gemara tells us a person that becomes observant of Shabbat, God is willing to forgive that particular transgression. What's the relationship between idolatry and Shabbat? Short answer. Shabbat means I believe in God. I believe in the creator of the world. I believe that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day, God rested. But Avodah Zarah basically means denial of God's existence or intervention in every day of our life. The Zohar Kadosh writes, and it says, great is the merit of every person that takes upon themselves the determination of turning back to the ways of the Almighty. Obviously, Eov, Mehila, Yitro was a Gentile, so he had to go through conversion, etc. But his conversion was not out of convenience, but it was out of the understanding that now Yitro says, Ata yadati, now I know that the God of the Jewish people is the real deal. And the question is, what prompted Yitro to say such a thing? I believe I mentioned it the other day, but I'll say it now quickly. Because Yitro saw how the judicial system of the Almighty works. Midah keneged midah, literally measure for measure. The Egyptians tried to drown the Jewish people. The Egyptian army died through drowning. That was one of them. So therefore, the Zohar Kadosh says that a person who makes the effort, and let's clarify, although the Zohar mentioned a minute about the topic of conversion, so to speak, that Yitro went through conversion just to be part of Am Israel, but the Zohar doesn't continue with that topic. The Zohar says that when a person becomes a Baal Teshuvah, so to speak, the person is like the person went through conversion. In other words, that a person was far away from God, and now we're getting closer to Hashem, we're getting closer to the ways of the Torah, we're getting closer to the learning of the Torah, and we're getting closer that we enable the Torah to penetrate into our life and enable us to truly function in a much better, in a more godly manner. And even though, let's clarify that Yitro, the devotion and the sacrifice that Yitro display in this past Perashiot, in the beginning of Sefer Shemot till Perashat Yitro, that we read in Shavuot, the Borei Olam says, I want you in my team. In your honor, I'll add an extra Torah portion in the Sefer Torah. And the Zohar Kadosh writes, and it says that part of the power of Yitro, of becoming a convert and doing teshuvah of his lifestyle, it was also from Cain. Remember I said before that Yitro was a tikkun of Cain? It says Cain's soul has been errant for thousands of years. We don't even know what happened to the soul of Cain. But I'm sure that the fact that he murdered his brother, and yet he murdered 50% of the world's population, God forbid, so to speak, because two brothers half and half, so the tikkun of Cain probably took many, many, many generations. I will clarify that the tikkun of Cain was started with Yitro. There will be more forthcoming, different names that perhaps we are familiar with them, and Be'ezat Hashem will talk about it as the Perashiot come our way. And therefore the Zohar Kadosh concludes and it says, don't minimize the value of your actions, of our actions. Our actions can create a closer relationship with God, so to speak, and the actions can create a greater distance between us and the Almighty. And the Zohar Kadosh says, to not minimize the value of your actions. Even how simple or insignificant the action may appear to be, if it's a good action, can bring goodness and light into the person's life. And God forbid, if the action is not good, God forbid, that action can lead to another action that really could become a source of challenges and headaches for the spiritual life of the person. So the Musar of today, I'll keep it short so we get ready for the next class that Be'ezat Hashem will be studying in an hour. Topic today, we continue with the weekly learning of the Pirkei Avot. It will be broadcasted live Be'ezat Hashem via iTorah as done every week. So let's read the short message of the Musar of today. Now, first of all, the Musar talks about not to procrastinate in life. Procrastination, in certain aspects, is not beneficial for the person. Most of the time, procrastination is not good. Could be one exception. If a person procrastinates to do an avon, so that's great. But usually procrastination, it's referring to something that I need to do, something that there's nothing wrong with that and it needs to be done, but I delay it. I'll delay it, I'll delay it, and then when I come, I deal with it accordingly. So first of all, here the Musar says that, many times a person says, okay, from this Monday, I'm going to start a new diet. From this Monday, I'm going to start a new exercise menu, whatever it may be. And the question is, how many of us really start that commitment? We did not say which Monday will be. Could be today, could be next week. So therefore, the Musar of today says, first of all, when it comes to spiritual matters, you ask somebody, why don't you come to the minyan to pray? Okay, I'll start from Rosh Chodesh. So the Musar says, and are you sure that you're going to be around Rosh Chodesh? I know that it's a bit strong, the language of the Musar, but the Musar is trying to say in plain English is, we don't know what's going to happen from one minute to the other. Maybe Mashiach comes in a second. He's just waiting for me to finish the class, and he'll come. Who knows? Teshuat Hashem, Kerefayim, it could happen. So the Musar says, anything that has to do with holiness, don't delay it. The moment that thought, that desire came into your heart, came into your mind, came into your brain, do it and take advantage of that spiritual moment. For that reason it says, Kelalo shel davar. Bottom line, Kesheva hamizvah leyadecha. When a mizvah is knocking on your door, meaning now a mizvah means a good deed, an opportunity to do something good and positive. Al titchei ota, don't delay it. As the pasuk writes, ushmartem et hamasot, watch the masot, and the Gemara writes, al tikre masot ela mizvot. Don't just limit the purpose of that verse only for the sake of watching over the matzot, that they don't burn or they don't become hames. No. Ushmartem means watch over that the mizvah does not get procrastinated. And that's what we say. Mizvah sheva'a leyadecha al tahmisenna. A great commandment, a good opportunity that came your way, don't allow it to rise. And even though that many times a person has the intention of doing the mizvah, velo asa'a, a person had the intention of doing certain mizvah, and that mizvah for XYZ reason could have not done, let's say because of curfew, that's beyond our control, or they closed down 95, that's beyond our control, or unexpected situation on the highway, that's beyond our control. So the Gemara, or the Musar rather, says that any time that opportunity the person had to do a mitzvah and he wasn't able or she wasn't able to do it, is considered like the mitzvah was done. Shene'emar ul-hoshve shemo. Those that are thoughtful of God's names. From here the Gemara in Kiddushin writes, what does the meaning of hoshve shemo? What does it mean, those who think of the name of God? The Gemara explains, a person that had a good intention to do certain deed, and for reasons beyond their control, they were not able to do it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God considers it like if we have done it, which is fascinating that the Musar of today says that God pays attention more to the effort than to the actual outcome of the effort. That is the Hebrew topic of hishtadlut, making the effort. God wants us to try. So here it's on that the words of Torah, Be'ezat Hashem, bring an elevation to the neshama of Moshe Mizrahi ben Sara. And once again, we express our gratitude to the anonymous sponsor that graciously sponsored today's class, La'ilui Nishmat, his dear friend Shlomo Moshe Mizrahi ben Sara, alav shalom. So Be'ezat Hashem, we'll see each other in an hour for the continuous class of the weekly Pirkei Avot. Have a great day, everybody. Shavua Tov Mevorach. Stay safe, please. Be careful, and remember the opening statement of today's class. Pray for the welfare of the government, pray for the sanity of people, and let us hope that as the day progresses today and the night arrives, things will be much calmer and much safer for our first responders and everyone around. Have a great day, everybody. Shavua Tov u'Mevorach.